Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat, handheld, because I'm really having to be creative. So welcome to the pantry. It was the quietest place I could find. So yeah, so a little bit different surroundings today. A lot of things going on, a lot of changes, a lot of stuff happening. And so, just got to be creative. So hopefully I can hold this kind of still and just take a few minutes here, or several minutes, it's me. But I want to tell a story, and this story comes out of the Bible. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear. This story is one that I talk about it a lot, and there's a lot of, you hear this story when you're a little kid in Sunday school, and I think that it gets looked at as just being like a child's story. But the thing is, it's a true story. This really happened. These people really existed, and these events truly took place. And so it's a very grown-up story, actually. And I just want to share it with you because I'm relating to it a lot lately. And I came across it in my scripture reading, and I just keep going back and reading it and reading it and reading it because it encourages me. So here goes. I'm going to do my best and hope I don't leave anything important out. If you want to read this story for yourself, it's the 3rd chapter of Daniel is where this story is found. So there was this king, and he was a king who pretty much was very full of pride and thought of himself as a god, and he had all these other idols and stuff that he wanted people to worship. He was not a godly king. He was actually could be very harsh and kind of a cruel king too. And his name was Nebuchadnezzar. Well, King Nebuchadnezzar had this image made out of gold. And it was 90 feet high, which is, according to Google, the equivalent of 7 to 8 stories high in a building. And it was 9 feet wide. So this image, whatever it was that he had made, could be seen from far, far away. And he put out a decree that this special music, he called in all his leaders and, all his governors and, all the politicians. He called them all in and he said, look, I've got this image set out there, and I have this special music that's going to play. And whenever the people hear this play, they are to fall down and worship the image. And some people believe that this image was of Nebuchadnezzar. I don't know. As I'm reading there, it just says it was an image. And unless I'm missing something maybe that came before or after, but just in that 3rd chapter, it says that it was an image. So anyway, this was how it's going to be. And he goes, now, if somebody doesn't fall down and worship when the music plays, then I'm going to have them incinerated in the furnace. We've got these furnaces around. Yeah, we'll just throw them in there. And so you guys need to spread the word. So they sent out this decree to let all the people know. Now, there were a lot of Jewish people that lived in Babylon at the time where this was happening because they had been brought there as, captives many years before that. And there were 4 little boys, probably about 8 years old, that when they were captured, that were put to the king's service. And so they were, getting them all ready and stuff. And we read about that much earlier. And that was Daniel and his 3 friends. And they didn't want to do what was being provided, the best of the meat and the best of this and the best of that. And, no, they said, we want to just eat vegetables and drink water. And this guy's like, we don't want to drink wine. We don't want to, eat the king's meats or anything. This is what we want. And just trust us. It'll pay off. Well, he's like, the guy that was in charge of them, this could be my head. But they won favor with him. And so they ended up being super healthy, super smart. And they were over the years elevated into different positions in the region. Well, at this time, when this happened, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had been elevated to positions of, duties and stuff, that was important. And so the men in his region probably didn't like them, were probably jealous of them. And so when the music would play, now I guarantee you that there were a lot of Jewish people that fell down and worshiped when that music played because they didn't want to die. And this is an important thing in the story because, see, we're told not to do that. And, and it is punishable by death, even within the Jewish, to have another God before him, you don't do it. But yet they obviously feared man more than God if they were falling down and worshiping, right? And this, I think, is an important point, because we have things that happen in life, and there's going to be more things coming as time goes on, when we are told we have to do certain things that maybe we know we're not supposed to do, or God said don't do it, but if you don't do it, then you're not going to be able to have money anymore, or you can't go buy groceries, or you can't have a job, or whatever. There's a cost to it. You can't live here if you don't do it. And so the Bible talks about how that's going to happen, and some of it already happens, and it will even be to eventually that what it will cost us is our very life. That if we don't deny Christ and we hang on to God, then we can be killed for that. In fact, there are people dying all the time, always have been, because of their belief in God. So that's really nothing new, but here in America, we haven't really seen it yet. So here's where we stand. Those Jews that would fall and worship were more afraid of man than God. And God told them, he had told them a long time ago, do not fear man who can kill your body, but fear me, God, who can not only kill your body, but your spirit or your soul. And so sometimes we forget who God is, and we're more in tune to the things around us, and we bow down to the wrong things to try to keep everything cool. Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not that way, and they would not worship this image or anything else, only God. And so these men went back to the king and they said, hey, that decree you sent out? Well, there's these 3 Jewish guys and they ain't doing it. And the king's like, what? They're not doing it? And they're like, no, they're not. Well, he got really angry. He goes, you go get them, bring them here. So they go out and they bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego back. And the king is very angry. And he said, now I've been told that when the music plays and you're supposed to fall down and worship the image, you're not doing it. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a chance, okay? And so when this music plays, if you go ahead and fall down and worship, then we'll just kind of let it slide and, and everything will be cool. But if you don't, and they said, and they spoke up and they said, look, you don't even need to bother to test us on this, because we're going to tell you right now, we're not going to fall down and bow down and worship. We only worship Jehovah. We only worship the one true God. We do not worship other idols. We will not. And he goes, well, oh man, now he's really mad because they're defying him to his face. And he's like, well, then you're going to be thrown in a furnace and incinerated. And there's no God can save you from that. Well, they're like, oh, yes, there is. Our God is able to deliver us. There's nothing he can't do. But you know what, King? Even if he were to say no and choose not to deliver us, but allow us to be incinerated in that furnace, we're still not bound down to anything. We still honor him and him alone. No matter what he chooses for us, we trust him to choose what's best for us. Well, now the king is so furious that he tells the guys, you go make that furnace over there, make it 7 times hotter than we usually have it. And then tie these guys up and make sure they've got all their clothes on, fire starter. The more stuff they had on their bodies, the more things that would catch fire and burn, and the more pain that they would have. And so anyway, so he gets them all set and they go to throw them in the furnace. And that furnace is so hot that it says when they opened it up to throw the men in, now Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they fell in just, like they were supposed to, into that furnace. They just fell in there. But the guys that were putting them in, they were burnt up. And the king was like, okay, that was kind of weird. So it's got his attention. He's got his little throne that he's had them, his little porta potty, porta throne that they brought out. And he's sitting on that. And he's like, okay, that was weird because they went in just fine. But the guys that put him in were incinerated. So he stands up and he starts looking in there. And he's like, huh. He says to the guys around him, hey, didn't we put put 3 men in there? Yeah. And didn't we have them tied up? Yes, King, that's exactly what we did. And they're like, why? Is there a problem? He goes, well, I see 4 men in there. And they're walking around, not bound up. They're just walking around talking like everything's fine. And that 4th guy, oh, he looks like a son of the gods. There was something different about that 4th man. And so he's going, I don't know what's going on. But he hollers at him, hey, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Yes, King, their voices come back. Come on out of here. Come out of there. Just come here. Come here. And so they walk out just fine. And all the men around there start closing in, looking at them, because these men are totally unaffected. I mean, their skin's not even red. Their clothes aren't burned up. Their hair's not singed. They didn't even smell like smoke. But they knew they'd been in there. They saw him in there. They saw him come out of there. What in the world was going on? And they're like, we told you, our God is able. And it so affected King Nebuchadnezzar. Now, it doesn't say that he believed in their God, but he wasn't going to have nobody talk, this God that they serve can deliver people out of a furnace. Nobody's going to say anything bad about him. And he sends out another decree that if anybody says anything against their God, the God of the Hebrews, that they will be torn limb for limb. So again, we're going to threaten lives, so he is going to protect God. Now, this story really hits me in a lot of ways. Right now, it's like Marvin and I are kind of in the furnace, all right? And God's there with us, and he's talking to us, and he's keeping us calm and giving us unbelievable peace. We don't know what the outcome's going to be yet. There's a lot of hanging in limbo, a lot of unknown. But we know that whatever God chooses for us will be for our best. And we know that whatever he chooses for us, we're still going to praise him. We're still going to worship him. Even if it's not what we would like him to choose, even if it's something we don't want to go through, it's okay because we trust God. And so I see that. And if I can't trust God in these things that really are small compared to things that will come that the Bible tells us about, the things when your life's going to be on the line, to not deny Christ and not worship the image is going to mean your head's cut off, or you're shot in the head with a gun, or you're thrown into a pit to be devoured by wild animals, or whatever they choose, but you will be dead. So, this furnace that we're in isn't going to cost us our life, not, that way, but it will change our life. It's just how it's going to change it that is unknown at this time. So, I see the importance that I have to be faithful to God in what really are small things compared to the big things that are to come. The other thing that I see is, besides that unwavering faith and devotion, is remembering I'm not alone. Marvin's not alone. We've got God with us. He's walking with us. We're not bound up, but we are freely moving about and enjoying sweet fellowship, wonderful fellowship with the Lord. And then the other thing is there's always somebody watching. And so when we go through these things, then we are bearing a testimony in how we go through them. See, the king was affected by how he saw them go through it and what God did. And so we want to be faithful to the Lord so that what we go through, it will have a positive impact on somebody else for the Lord as well. So I just wanted to just kind of run some of those things by. I keep reading and rereading this story because of how it stands out to me and the different things it's saying to me. So I just want to encourage you today, whatever you're going through, do not be unfaithful to God. Trust him no matter what he decides for your life. And no, because here's the thing, those men went into that furnace bound up, but they came out free. And Marvin and I were talking about whenever God has us go through something, which strengthens us, quite honestly, we always come out of it better than we went in. It always strengthens us and improves us. And so, I said, a year from now, we're going to be sitting down, talking and going, isn't it amazing what God did? And how much better off we are than we were this time last year. And it came through the hands of the enemy. It came through things that we didn't want to go through, but yet God had a plan. He's got a plan, you guys. Just be faithful and true. All right, I love you. I'll talk to you again later, real soon.